If you're watching this video, it's probably because you want to play the best golf that you could possibly play, especially as you're getting older. You may have noticed that as you've been playing golf over the years that you're losing some flexibility, maybe even losing some distance on shots. It's natural for our bodies to lose flexibility and lose muscle mass and strength. And in this video, we're going to go over some of the best moves to improve your strength, especially for those senior golfers. The first exercise we're going to work on is a hinge pattern movement. So we're going to be doing a single leg Romanian deadlift. This one is going to really work the glutes, our single leg stability, hip stability, as well as our balance. It's a great overall exercise that I think every golfer should be doing. You're going to just choose whichever leg you're going to be working. Stand on that leg with a slight bend in the knee. The weight, if you choose to use a weight, is going to be in the opposite hand. And then from here, all we're going to do is fold over at the hips and then kick one leg back, and then down we go. And so we're also trying to maintain a relatively neutral spine, and then as we stand up, we're using our butt to help us push our hips forward and stand all the way upright. As we're going through, we really want to try to maintain balance. You're going to feel a stretch in your hamstring on the way down. The goal is to not touch the floor here. The goal is to just go down, push our hips back. Again, you're going to feel that stretch in your hamstring, maintain that neutral spine, and then use that glute to stand back up and extend your hip. The easier version is what I like to call a kickstand Romanian deadlift. Weight is still going to be in the opposite hand, but instead of lifting this leg off of the floor, what we're going to do is we're going to keep it down. We're going to be up on our toes. It's really just for balance. So now from here, again, we're going to fold over at the hips, pushing our butt back, keeping our spine in a relatively neutral position. You should feel that stretch in your hamstring on that leg that you're working in the front, and then you're going to stand back up using your buttock to do that. There's a great version if you're having too hard of a time with balancing on the first version of that exercise. The next exercise is a variation of a single leg squat, and you could do this holding a dumbbell or a kettlebell. If that's too hard, again, you don't have to use any weight whatsoever. We're going to start in almost a lunge position. So our leg is in front of us, our other leg is back behind us. About 70 to 80% of our weight is on this front leg, with the remaining percent on our back leg, just helping with balance basically. And then from here, all we're going to do is just drop straight down. And then we're going to just stand back up, making sure that our front leg is doing pretty much a majority of all of the work. Now when you're doing this, it's totally okay if your knees go over your toes. Don't worry about that. That's totally safe and fine. And then I also recommend that you let that back knee drop down and bend as well as you do this exercise. It'll make it a lot easier for you. If that is too hard for whatever reason, let's just do a standard squat. We're going to do a goblet squat. All that is just holding something in front of your chest. Feet are about hip width apart, and then we're just going to squat down and then stand back up. Go down to as far as you feel comfortable. I would say your aim is to about parallel. If not, you can go below that as well. But if you can't go that far, totally okay. The next exercise we're going to do is start working on the back musculature. So the first one we're going to do is a bent over row. You do need some dumbbells or kettlebells of this, or something of two different objects of similar weights. We're going to have our feet about shoulder width apart. We're going to hinge at our hips, nice neutral spine, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to row back. So as we're pulling back, squeezing that muscle behind our armpit, keeping our elbows relatively close to our body, not letting them fly out to the side here. And then also making sure that we're maintaining a neutral spine position, just like so. And then when we're pulling and we're rowing up, pull that weight back towards our pocket or our hip. If for whatever reason that just seems too difficult or you can't maintain that hinged position for too long, work your way up to that by doing this drill here. We're going to support ourselves with a hand on one side. Again, back is relatively flat. This is hanging down straight in front of us. And then we're pulling back again towards that hip and towards our pocket, and then lowering back down. The next exercise that we're going to do is the push-up. Probably know how to do this, but let's go over some of the basic points. In this position, we're going to start with our hands directly underneath our shoulders. We don't want to be too far back like this. Our hands should be directly underneath our shoulders. Our feet are pretty close together, and our butt is not too high in the air, and it's not dipping down like this. We want to be nice and straight like a board as best as we can. All we're going to do is just lower ourselves down, and then push back up. When performing this drill to help with your shoulder health is to make sure that when you're doing it, your elbows aren't flaring out to the side. Keep them relatively tucked in on about a 45-degree angle. Now when you're performing this drill, Ideally, your chest is getting down and touching the ground. If you can't get all the way down, do as best as you can or check out the regression. If you cannot tolerate the push-up from the ground, the best way to make it easier is bring your hands up off of the ground. I recommend starting at, say, a chair or a coffee table or a box like this. And then if that's still too hard, start at the countertop and start there. Same setup as the push-up on the ground. We're going to have our hands directly underneath our shoulders. Our feet are back behind us. Our body is straight. We're not letting it dip down or really arch up. And then from here, we're going to lower ourselves down and then push back up. So we took care of the strength in this video. Don't forget about the flexibility. Check out the best flexibility exercises for senior golfers right here.